My name is Abigail Ford. I was so tired. I was tired of the taunting jeers and insults, of the eyes that darted away, voices that giggled when I walked down the school's corridor, of the other guys that would talk just loud enough to make sure I heard them when they made plans for the weekend. Plans which, of course, did not include me. I was tired of the bullies. So tired that I just wanted to fall asleep and never wake up again. James Newman was 14 years old when he brought a gun to his middle school. It was the darkest time of his life, and he thought that surely this was the one way he could make things different and somehow make his life better. But thanks to the loving heart of one understanding woman, a gym teacher of all people, James came out of this incident with a changed heart, hope, and a new beginning. 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, the true story of the Pine Middle School shooting as adapted by Abigail Ford. My name is James, though if you went to my school, you wouldn't have known that. My classmates hardly ever acknowledged that I existed, let alone refer to me by my actual name. The few times that they did address me was only ever by one of the many nicknames that they dumped upon me. The non-vulgar ones included loser, nerd, stupid, and head in the clouds boy. But could I help it that my imagination ran wild? I am, was, and always will be an artist. I think the reason that I'm so drawn to that blank canvas is because I can sit down with this empty picture, tool in my hand, whether it be a pen, pencil, paintbrush, charcoal, whatever. I can make anything I want. I think I realize now that back then I always wanted a blank canvas of my own life, but I realize now that nobody can ever truly have that. I recall clearly the feeling of deep hatred and anger I felt towards my family, because I was depressed and I couldn't understand why they couldn't help me and realize this misery I was suffering through that I thought to be so apparent. The few times that they did realize I was troubled, they tried to help, but nothing ever worked. I remember going up to my room one night, sitting at my desk, opening my laptop and just browsing. Wasn't looking for anything specific, but it wasn't hard to stumble upon the headline news of that week. It was detailing the events of a school shooting that had taken place, and I hate to use this word now, and it leaves me with a sick feeling in my stomach, but reading those articles, I was inspired. On every article, they had the shooter's picture and his name, his real name, not a nickname. And I don't remember what happened in that shooting, or where it even took place. All I remember is this deep feeling of a desperate hope and determination, because surely I could do that too. I could be that well known. My dad owned a handgun. I knew where my mom kept the bullets. I could do it. I was 14. Don't give me those looks. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't think it through. I didn't want to hurt anybody. But I went to bed that night feeling content for the first time, and I don't even know how long. Because I knew that in the morning I would wake up and I would set to work on the details of this malicious plan crafted solely out of my desperation. That's exactly what I did. I remember drawing a picture of my hands holding a gun, and at the top of the picture there was these big, large, curved letters saying, "Nobody knows me now, but after Tuesday at 9 a.m., everyone will know the name that is James Newman." I figured, why not parallel when my life would change forever to the time my pathetic life began, because I was born Tuesday at 9 a.m. And so for weeks, I plotted and I planned, and finally, the day of my creation came. Tuesday morning at approximately 8:30 a.m., I entered Pine Middle School. The buses had been running late due to heavy snow, and everyone was hustling and bustling to get to their classes on time. Nobody bothered going around me. As usual, I was jostled about, stepped on, pushed aside. As soon as the clock in the hallway hit 9 a.m., I pulled the gun from my backpack and I fired a shot off towards the ceiling. It was at that moment, as my classmates were screaming and running in all different directions away from me, I realized for the first time how much power and destruction I held in my hands, and I was absolutely terrified. Through the throng of students, I saw one woman coming towards me who I recognized, and that was Jency Fagan, my gym teacher. We called her Mama Bear at my school because she was so protective of her class, and I had had several conversations with her before. She cared for her students. She legitimately cared. And she didn't look afraid, and she didn't look worried. The only emotion on her face was concern, and I could tell it was for my well-being. And so as she approached, her hands held up in a surrendering manner, I pointed the gun at her, and my arm was trembling, and I said, "Miss Jency, you need to leave. I will shoot you." But she didn't leave. She just stood there, and she told me, "James, you need to put the gun down. You're better than this. You don't want to do this. You are a good kid." A good kid, she called me. I could have killed her, and she had the nerve to say that I was a good student. And I told her once again, "No, Miss Jency, you need to leave. I am not a good person." And she said, "You won't shoot me. I know you better than that." So I threw the gun away from me, and she came up and hugged me until the police came. She hugged me and she told me that she would always be there for me, and I knew that she was not being dishonest. I was sentenced to house arrest until I completed 200 hours of community service. But in March of 2008, Jency Fagan, my savior, won this big, fancy Citizen Honor Award from the Congressional Honor Society, and with that award, she got thousands of dollars. Do you want to know what she did with that money? She didn't spend a single penny on herself. She gave it to my parents and said, "Use this to help James." She gave it to me, thousands and thousands of dollars. And that's the sole reason my parents can afford to homeschool me now. It turned my life around. I changed for the better. But I think back to that point in my life when I was so tired. But now I realize you can take your paintbrush and you can cover up the mistakes and make up for them. And now I am so awake